Hello, everyone, and welcome to PFF One-on-One with Solomon Wilcots. And today, we go one-on-one with one of the best that ever did it, and that is NFL Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. He's a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2009, 17 seasons at a cornerback and safety in the NFL, NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1993. And Rod, how about this? Just named to the NFL's 100th anniversary team. Congratulations, by the way.
Solly, I appreciate it, brother. I mean, it's, you started playing football. I know for me, I started playing football. I was 9 years old. And I started playing because my oldest two brothers were playing ball. So I wanted to be around them and I wanted to get out of the house. And, one thing led to another. I became a little bit better as I got into junior high and high school. And I got a scholarship to go to to Purdue and play in the Big Ten. And never really thought about, back then today, we only had 5 channels. So we didn't get to see teams like we see these guys do today. So I didn't have a dream about playing football. I just enjoyed it. So to be a country boy from Indiana think about how many players have played pro football over 100 years in our country, and to be named to the top 100 players in that time frame is, first of all, humbling. So surreal, very similar to me being named to the Hall of Fame in 2009. It has that same effect on me. And, I'm honored. And, the old saying, I'd rather be a has-been than a never was. I appreciate everybody remembering what I've done on the field and my impact that I had when I played.
Well, you made an impact and kind of broke in with that great speed. Not a lot of people know, but you were a track star in high school and in college at Purdue. Most track guys don't translate well as a pro football player, certainly not in the same way that you did. Talk to me about how the speed that you brought to how you played the game and just the mindset of your ability to play every position in the secondary.
Well, I mean, it's, that old saying is that, you can't teach speed and you can't teach height. And this is two things you can't teach. The guy either gives it to you or he doesn't give it to you. But in my time of playing, the one thing I did have when I first got in the NFL, I think, when everybody first comes in the NFL, and this is what Chuck Noll told me after my second week of being in the league, is that everybody's talented. That's why they get drafted. Every player who gets drafted in the National Football League or have the opportunity to play in the National Football League has some type of talent. And it's the players who can differentiate themselves from the other players by their self-study. They're getting their information from the coaches, from their peers, giving them information, and have that recall in practice and in the games. Those players separate themselves from everybody else. And so, it was, for me, it took several years for me to kind of understand it, but that speed helped me just for the fact that, if I got beat on a double move, I can catch up. I played kind of, watching formations and whatnot, and allowing me to understand the game also allowed me to play different positions. And, my roommate when I first came into the National Football League was Donnie Shell, who is a solid player, a solid pro, a good man. But he taught me how to be a pro, and he taught me how to study each position. And he was like, listen, if you understand each position, you know where you fit in each defense, it lets you play faster. That's one of the things that I'm really happy about, is that I understood the game, but I was taught the game well because I had Tony Dungy, I had Chuck Noll, I had Dick LeBeau, Dom Capers, and Bill Cowher came in, and Rod Russ was also a great influence on me. But all those people helped me understand the game at a high level. And when you understand the game at a high level, it lets you play that much faster. There's an old saying, hesitation will kill a defensive player. So anytime you hesitate, anytime you feel that you don't know where you're a step behind. And once you stop your feet, that's where the offense wants you. And normally you're going to lose that down.
And Rod, I got to pick your brain on Lamar Jackson. You spent time during your 17-year NFL career as part of the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl 35 championship team. So it appears as though this team is trending towards yet another championship, and they're doing it with a dynamic player like Lamar Jackson. You also coached in this league, so I got to ask you, give me your thoughts on just his overall talents, his mobility, and his ability to throw the ball from the pocket, and how would you defend him?
You have to admire what the Baltimore Ravens has done with their offense in a given year. So you got to remember, last year at the very beginning, this offense looked completely different. I mean, it was Joe Flacco's team. It was a spread offense, throwing the ball down the field. That's what Joe Flacco does best. And then Joe got hurt. And then over the course of the end of the year, you kind of start to see the development of them getting Lamar more comfortable in the things that he's good at. And then as the season was ending, in the offseason, they were all in and getting Lamar the best system. And then you got Greg Roman, who comes in, who was Colin Kaepernick's coach in San Francisco, and they get it to the inverted wishbone, this kind of, double tight end. They stayed in kind of a 22-12 package through almost the whole year. And it's different, so I admire them for doing that, going out there and being all in on a player, and that with the skill set that he has, I mean, he's dynamic. I mean, he hits that X button on the Xbox, and he spins off defenders and makes them look very foolish in space.
How do we defend
almost every
him?
Single week?
Yeah, how do we defend him?
Now, the one way you're defending in a passing sense is that you what you call cage rush. So you got to cage rush him. So your outside rushers, your edge rushers, either both your ends, they have to bull rush outside. They can't speed rush. You speed rushing him lanes to step up into, he's gone. He's out of there. So you have to bull rush those guys, and then your interior players, they got to basically do the same thing. They got to take their guards that they're on and try to push them back in the pocket, and they can't play one side to the other. He reminds me of Barry Sanders. I mean, we did the same thing with Barry Sanders. He's the only player that I remember in my lifetime of playing in NFL that we had to game plan somebody like that, because we said if Barry went to the left and you were on the right, you bet not fold and go the other way, because Barry coming back.
He's coming back.
And Lamar is similar to that. You don't know where Lamar is going to be. And if you don't, the sleight of hand, if you don't follow the ball and your defense is not disciplined enough in the running game, he's going to gas you. But in the passing game, I would cage rush. And then in the running game, and those read options and RPOs, you have to be disciplined of who's going to touch the football. But my thing would be, listen, every time Lamar puts the belly in the ball, or put the ball in the belly of the running back, I want you to hit Lamar. Don't worry about the ball. Don't worry about the running back. I want you to hit Lamar. And I mean, that's the one way I would defend him, because I want to hit him more and more and more. He's not a real big guy. And we know over the course of time, just taking those hits, it's going to wear and tear on any position.
Oh, absolutely. All right, I got to ask you, we here at PFF, we believe in data analytics, okay, when it comes to evaluating players and helping everyone to understand these data points. I want to tap your brain just for a little bit, because you played 17 years in the National Football League. For a guy who has 71 career interceptions, third on the all-time list, I always said, you know more than most, okay? And you played every position in the secondary. So when it comes to evaluating players coming out of college, looking to play in this league, in an NFL secondary, what are some of the key points of evaluation that you look for? If you get to put together your dream secondary, what kind of players are you putting in Rod Woodson's secondary?
Well, when I watch a kid, coaching for 4 years with the Raiders, the one thing I want to look for is that I watched everything. I watched them jogging. I watched them warming up. I watched them stopping. I watched them going. It wasn't the long speed, because I think if you run a 4.55, I think you can be a solid player in the National Football League. Anything under that is a plus. But when you're talking about in the secondary, they have to be really good with change of direction. So the short shuttle numbers have to be good. I don't need a killer 40, which I already said. The short shuttle, the 3-cone, I want good. So I want to see them moving in and out of their breaks, because these smaller receivers, this game this is a passing game played in space.
Yep.
I need these guys to be able to stay connected to these receivers who are going to create that separation. So I'm looking for somebody kind of like Minkah Fitzpatrick. He is, to me, he is like ideal. I mean, I loved him coming out of college.
Yeah.
And, since he is coming over to the Steelers, you've seen the dynamic change that the secondary, not just the secondary, but the defense made. It is so funny how one player who comes over and shows that, hey, you know what? Don't be scared to put your foot in the ground and go get that rock. That one player has had this positive effect and this cumulative effect, this ripple effect with this defense throughout the whole year. And because if you look at their numbers from on the first 4 weeks, and then after that trade and when he came in, because that first week he got a pick.
That's
the
right.
very first game there. So you see the dynamic change from the numbers that they've had since he's been there and before he was there. And it's just because of his mindset. His mindset is, listen, when the ball's in the air, that's your ball. Run to the ball, good things happen. Strips, fumbles, tips and overthrows. We always say he's got to get those.
That's right.
And if you're in position, you're going to the ball, you're running to the ball, you're staying connected to receivers and tight ends, and the quarterback has one bad throw or one tip ball, you get that interception. You get that big play for your defense. And those are the type of players that are valuable to defensive coordinators and to football teams. Players like him who can play. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. He can really play nickel if he had to. I don't know if he could play outside corner, but he's one of those playmakers that he's good at blitzing. He's a great disguiser. He understands the game. But the one thing I love about him more than anything else is that when he recognizes the formation and he recognizes the play, he's not afraid to put his foot in the ground and go get the ball.
I want to ask you one more thing about Minkah Fitzpatrick, because I think it was Vince Lombardi who said 90% of the game is played from the neck up. I remember many of those practices that we would have at Three River Stadium or over on that half field, grass field over there. The way that you practice and the way that all of us sort of followed you kind of set the tone in practice. You set a serious tone for paying attention to details. And it seems that Minkah Fitzpatrick has brought that. Let's take a look at the Steelers. You mentioned it, all the big plays that they had given up. And Dick LeBeau used to tell us that more games are lost than are won. What he meant is, in the secondary, you can't have errors. You can't have misalignments because the official's going to be standing in the end zone holding up both hands, signaling a touchdown. And since his arrival, the Steelers secondary aren't giving up those cheap touchdowns. They're not allowing people to run freely through their secondary. Play action fake and flea flickers don't work on this group anymore. Talk to me about the presence of Minkah Fitzpatrick and how he's made a difference just in omitting the errors, and that has made them better.
It's the Steeler way. So the Steeler way, and you talk about the Baltimore Ravens, kind of the Baltimore Ravens have their way. And normally when you find those teams who have that standard of play, and it's been there for quite a long time, you got to think about what the Steelers are all about. They only have had 3 head coaches in their history. So every head coach has put their stamp on it. And Mike Tomlin's done the same thing. Minkah fits that. He fits that. Listen, you got to come in, and this is what Chuck Noll said, the same thing as Vince Lombardi. It's 2-to-1 mental to physical. And it's those players who can oppose their will, have that recall in the game. All those players, they separate themselves from all the other players. And the one thing that Minkah has done for the Pittsburgh Steelers is that he's brought this idea back, which I think was lost, and it's been lost for quite a while, ever since Troy Polamalu has left, because he was the last real playmaker that they've had, is that when I step on the field, I'm the best player out here. I'm going to make some plays. when I see the formation, I'm going to go get it. When I nod my head at you, I'm going to go get it. And all the other players, and even the pass rush has even been better since he's came in. And he's not a defensive lineman.
No.
But all those guys, Watt's playing well. Everybody is playing so much better. They're playing at a higher and a faster rate than they were the first part of the year. And I give it all the credit to him because I think he brought a mindset. He brought that mindset back, what Pittsburgh has always been missing since Troy has left. And I think that's back. And, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers defense that you're used to seeing in the last 25, 30 years.
Absolutely. And just like you did, providing leadership for the team, not just in games, but every single day in practice. It starts with the preparation. Last question before we let you go. You now live in Las Vegas. I was just there with you, and we saw that big, beautiful stadium coming up right next to Interstate 15, where it will be home of the Raiders. We just saw the Oakland Raiders play their final season at the Coliseum. You played for that Raider team. It looks like you moved to Vegas. You're going to meet them there. You're getting there before they do. Just kind of talk to me about the community there in Las Vegas. Are they prepared to support this Raiders team, and what can we expect from the city of Las Vegas for a team that now has, for a city, I should say, that now has a team that they appear to be in love with?
Well, first of all, they did a tremendous job of accepting the Golden Knights, which is the hockey team. The Golden Knights have been playing extremely well since they've been in existence in the first 2 years of their career, of their franchise. And so they accepted that. They accepted them because they are a part of the Vegas community. One thing you know about the Silver and Black, the Silver and Black Nation, they travel well. So you got to think it's a 4-hour drive from LA. That fan base already drove up to Oakland on a consistent basis, and that was 6-hour drives. So they're going to drive here. So that fan base from California is still there. But I think the community as a whole, it's a beautiful stadium. All the luxury seats are sold out. I heard that all the tickets for the first year are gone. And I don't know if that's every single seat or just all the luxury seats, but it's going to be packed. And you think about it, Sally. If you're a fan of, say, the New York Jets, and in December you're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm taking a trip. I'm double dipping.
That's right.
I'm double dipping, right? So I get to go to Vegas, spend some time in Vegas, but then I get to see my team play the Las Vegas Raiders in 2020 or 2021, whatever it might be. So I think it's going to be a tremendous thing for the city. I think the city is going to extremely embrace them. You see Raider stuff all over the place already. And once they get here, and once they're winning, and once those type of things start happening in the community, the fan base is going to be tremendous. I believe they're going to, these guys from LA and back in Oakland who missed their Raiders, they're going to travel extremely well to come in here to put those Raiders flags, those pirate flags, all over the place for their tailgating. And it's going to be a good time here in Vegas.
Yeah, and Rod, as you well know, in the media business, when you travel to a great city like Las Vegas for work, we call that a boondoggle, right? It's a combination of work and vacation.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Rod, hey, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us here on PFF One-on-One with Solomon Wilcots. You're the best, my friend. You take care and have a great day.
You too, Sully. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.